Is life worth living? This question does not arrive in moments of great tragedy. More often, it comes on an ordinary day, in a very quiet moment, when nothing seems wrong. Albert Camus began all of his philosophy with this single question. Before asking what happiness is, what is right or wrong, or how we should live, he stopped at this one question. Is life worth continuing? In the 1940s, Europe stood after 2 world wars. Cities lay in ruins, millions had died, without reason or explanation. God offered no answer, order no longer made sense. Violence was no exception, it had become everyday life. People began to ask, why did this happen? Why must we suffer like this? And eventually, they reached this question. Why live at all? Camus stood at the edge of that question. And he realized that every philosophical question eventually leads here. Is life worth living? When Camus spoke of suicide, he was not calling for death. He was asking something deeper. If life has no meaning, why do we go on living? If we cannot answer this, Camus believed, all other philosophies collapse. He called this condition, by one word, the absurd. Human beings long for meaning. We want reasons, purposes, explanations for our lives. But the world remains silent. When we ask, and the world does not answer, the absurd is born between us. We wake up, we go to work, we move through crowds, we return home. We eat, we stare at screens, we fall asleep. And the next day, the same life begins again. One day, a thought appears. Why am I doing this? At first, it feels strange. Of course we work, of course we continue, of course we live. But the question does not stop. Why live? Why repeat this life? There is no answer. The world says nothing. The sun rises, the rain falls, people are born, and people die. Without reason, without purpose. Faced with this silence, most people become busy. With work, with relationships, with goals. Anything, to avoid stopping. But in quiet nights, when we are alone, the absurd returns. Why am I here? Is this all? Camus said. This moment is where philosophy begins. He offered 3 responses to the absurd. Escape into illusions, give up entirely, or rebel. Camus chose rebellion. Rebellion is not anger, it is not denial. It is continuing to live, while knowing life has no inherent meaning. If the world is silent, I will create meaning myself. This is freedom. When meaning is not given, we are free to choose our values, our direction, our way of living. Camus tells the story of Sisyphus. Condemned to push a stone uphill, only to watch it roll back down. Endless repetition, perfect absurdity. And yet, Camus says, we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Because he knows his fate, and still, he continues. Not for results, not for completion. But in the effort itself, he lives his life. Camus' philosophy is not dark. The meaninglessness of life does not have to destroy you. It may instead set you free. We cannot be certain about meaning, about the future, about answers. But we can try to love, to create, to connect, to understand. That effort itself gives life its meaning. Camus once wrote, in the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me, there lay an invincible summer. Even within the absurd, we can sense beauty. Now I want to ask you, when does life feel meaningless to you? And even then, What brings you back to walking forward? Today, what small act of rebellion will you choose in the face of the absurd? Sisyphus pushes the stone again. And we, too, live today without knowing the reason, yet still, we continue.